The Battle of Mogadishu began on 23 August 2010 when Al-Shabaab insurgents began attacking government and African Union mission to Somalia positions in the Somali capital of Mogadishu. Al-Shabaab began its offensive after its spokesman said the group was declaring a massive war on troops sent by AMISOM, describing its 6,000 peacekeepers as invaders. In December 2010, the number of AMISOM troops was increased to 8,000 and later to 9,000. Background: Al-Shabaab had previously declared a massive war against the internationally backed transitional federal government and AMISOM troop invaders. On the 11th of July 2010 they attacked Kampala, Uganda in revenge for the country's support of African Union troops in Somalia. The attacks took place as hundreds of additional Ugandan troops arrived in the country, fighting. August, Ramadan offensive: 40 people were reportedly killed and more than 100 injured in the violence that began on the 23rd of August. After that, fighting continued, and the next day when several Al-Shabaab militants, disguised as government workers, launched an attack at the Muna Hotel, a hotel known for hosting many Somali government officials and politicians. The hotel was located a kilometer away from the presidential palace Villa Somalia. 31 people were reported killed in the hotel incident, including 11 lawmakers. By the 26th of August, 115 people had been killed and 200 had been wounded, and hundreds of people were reported to have fled the city. Both sides claimed advances, with Mujahideen fighters making new bases from the areas they had captured. However, a police spokesman denied Al-Shabaab claims that government troops were losing territory in the city. The next day, Al-Shabaab said it had called 11 truckloads of reinforcements to take over the capital Mogadishu after a week-long battle. The government again, however, continued to deny claims that Al-Shabaab was gaining any ground. 11 government troops were reported killed by Al-Shabaab, as well as 5 Al-Shabaab fighters that day. On the 30th of August, fighting was renewed when Al-Shabaab fighters attempted to take a government barracks around Sigale in the capital's Hodan neighborhood. The ensuing action left 6 confirmed dead and 16 wounded, and by the end of the month UPI reported that a mortar attack by Al-Shabaab killed 4 Ugandan peacekeepers guarding the presidential palace in Mogadishu. A TFG spokesman, Faraji Bahoko, denied claims though by Al-Shabaab that the group was close to capturing a road connecting the palace to the airport. September. The first week of September started with at least 19 people being killed in fresh fighting between Somali government forces and Al-Shabaab. Almost 14,000 of the displaced people left Mogadishu by the 5th entirely as fighting continued, and by week's end 3 more Somalis are killed and 23 wounded as 500 shells pounded northern and southern parts of the capital. On the 9th of September, Al-Shabaab attacked Mogadishu's airport when a bomb exploded outside. A second vehicle full of militants then opened fire on the peacekeepers and Somali security forces that left at least 8 people are killed. On the 16th of September, at least 18 civilians are killed in fighting between Al-Shabaab and the government forces near the Bakara market. Fighting continued into the 20th of September with at least 10 more civilian casualties. On the 20th of September, Islamic militants seized 2 radio stations in the capital, and suicide bomber blew herself up at the gates of the presidential palace in Mogadishu, slightly injuring murdering 2 soldiers. Al-Shabaab launched a new offensive against government forces and AMISOM on the 22nd of September. 19 civilians and 24 Islamists were killed. 1 soldier member of AMISOM was killed and 2 others wounded as a result. On the 27th of September, Al-Shabaab militants attacked the National Parliament building with mortars while a lawmakers' meeting was assembled. Government soldiers and African Union forces repelled the attack, however. October. Between 5 to 6 October, at least 15 people were killed and 22 others wounded in fighting in Mogadishu between insurgent forces and AMISOM. Most of the dead were civilians. On the 7th of October, however, it was reported that OU troops had captured more territory and were expected to control half of the city by the end of the month. By 11-12 October, 15 more people are killed in clashes as fighting continued. Organized by the city's local government on the 24th of October, hundreds of people rallied in the Somali government-controlled part of Mogadishu to protest against the Islamist insurgency and call for peaceful resolution. By the end of the month, officials in Mogadishu claimed that they had the upper hand in 6 of the capital's 16 districts as fighting continues. Outside the capital, Al-Sunnah wal-Jama'ah had also made additional progress chasing Al-Shabaab out of a few towns in the recent weeks. Al-Shabaab, however, is reported to be continuing its terror tactics and smart guerrilla tactics. On the 1st of November, at least 12 people were killed in a battle between government forces and militants. 3 government soldiers were killed, with 6 wounded. Witnesses claim civilians were also killed during the battle. The next day, Somalia's new Prime Minister Mohamed Abdullahi Mohamed is sworn in as 21 more people are killed and 30 wounded. As allied TFG and African Union forces battled Al-Shabaab insurgents, Mohamed was quoted as saying, "I will uphold and protect the laws of the country and I will pursue the common interest of the people and the nation." By the 11th of November, 12 more people were killed and 25 others injured after an attack in Mogadishu's northern district of Bundhira, and the 18th of November saw 21 more civilians killed from artillery shelling. On the 28th of November, the president of Uganda, Yoweri Museveni, visited Mogadishu and urged the international community to provide more support for the government of Somalia. However, the next day at least 15 people died and 25 injured after Islamist fighters attacked government positions in the northern part of the city. December. The month began with more AMISOM troops being deployed on the 2nd of December as more attacks continued, mostly in the northern part of the city. On the 5th of December, at least 12 more people and 20 others were wounded as a result of heavy artillery exchange in one of the city's northern districts. 15 additional people were killed between 10 and the 11th of December, and on the 15th of December heavy fighting was reported as Al-Shabaab tried to cut off Makkah al-Mukarramah, which is the only street in Mogadishu that the Somali government officials and the African Union troops use for their special purposes. Over 100 people were killed in the clashes. On the 20th of December 2010, Hezbollah Islam officially surrendered to Al-Shabaab and the two organizations merged. As a result, Al-Shabaab fighters started taking over Hezbollah Islam positions, while Hezbollah Islam fighters were allowed to enter Al-Shabaab-controlled territories as well. On the 23rd of December, the two sides formally declared unity in Mogadishu with a ceremony held in the Nasruddin Mosque, which was attended by Al-Shabaab's official spokesman Sheikh Ali Muhammad Raghi and Sheikh Abdul Fattah Moalan Mohammed. Hezbollah-Islam's head of information. New fighting broke out on the 25th of December, killing at least 2 and injuring at least 25. The fighting happened as Al-Shabaab declared it would increase its attacks after its merger with Hezbollah-Islam. 25 more people were killed and 32 civilians were wounded in the fighting on the 30th of December. January. The new year opened up with a violent mutiny staged by government forces which resulted in 3 soldiers being killed and 7 wounded over non-payment of salary. 19 people were also killed in clashes on the 1st of January as insurgents attacked bases of Somali government forces. February to March, anti-insurgency offensive. On the 19th of February, AMISOM forces clashed with Al-Shabaab in the Sagale and El Hindi areas of Al-Wadag district. It lasted for 2 days, reaching with a death toll of more than 20 people including several foreigner Al-Shabaab fighters. The next day it was reported that AMISOM troops destroyed a large complex of Al-Shabaab trenches and killed 6 Al-Shabaab commanders in Mogadishu. 2 AMISOM troops were killed. AMISOM and TFG forces then advanced northwest into the Hodden district of Mogadishu, resulting in that on the 23rd of February several strategic places were captured. This includes the former defense ministry that Al-Shabaab have used as a base and where they launched the attacks from during the Ramadan offensive. Warshada al-Nahar and sections of Industrial Road were also captured. At least 86 Somali soldiers, 8 astronomical units soldiers, 70 Al-Shabaab fighters and 45 civilians were killed during the battles. A major explosion occurred on the 21st of February when a suicide car bomb exploded at a police post in the Hamajajib district of Mogadishu. At least 20 people were killed, including TFG policemen and a woman. During the 25th of February, AMISOM and TFG forces took over Mogadishu Junction Florence Gedjil in the street of Wadnaha and advanced to around 500 meters from Bakaro Market. Another trench system used by Al-Shabaab was discovered and destroyed. In February, over 50 AMISOM soldiers were killed by the insurgents. As the offensive continued, it was reported on the 5th of March that up to 53 AMISOM may have died in the clashes. Of those, 43 Burundian and 10 Ugandan. Burundi announced on the 12th of March that they had deployed 1,000 extra soldiers to AMISOM over a 2-day period, bringing the total Burundi contribution up to 4,400 soldiers. On the 16th of March, Abdikadir Yusuf a.k.a. Sheikh Albi, a senior Al-Shabaab official serving as the group's leader in Juba and Gedo region, was killed in Mogadishu. May to June. Bakaro Market offensive. Bakaro Market has for several years been one of the main strongholds and sources of income for Al-Shabaab. The market has been used for launching attacks and for shooting mortars towards AMISOM and TFG-controlled areas of Mogadishu. It has been hard to target Al-Shabaab hiding within the market, as it is the largest in Somalia and packed with civilians. On the 12th of May, TFG, AMISOM and Alu-Sunna Waljama launched an offensive towards Bakaro Market. The goal of the offensive was to take control of Bakaro Market, located in the Al-Wadag district of Mogadishu. It was part of a major offensive going on in several places in Somalia to take control of the areas under Al-Shabaab control. 2 days into the battle on the 14th of May, the Al-Shabaab commander of Bakaro Market, Abdi Fattah Muhammad, was killed together with his intelligence officer Abdul Wahab Sheikh Dole. On the 15th of May, heavy fighting occurred when more than 35 people were killed in the fighting. including Al-Shabaab commander of Al-Wadag district Ali Burhan Ayatullah. After 4 days of fighting, TFG, AMISOM and Al-Shabaab forces had advanced around 500 meters towards the market. The front line was on the 16th of May around 500 to 700 meters north and west of the market and 200 meters south of it. The areas seized from Al-Shabaab included a former Sufi shrine that Al-Shabaab used as a military base. In an attack on 6th of May, Al-Shabaab soldiers were killed in a mortar attack and 17 injured. Heavy shelling hit the Bakaro market on the 14th of May, resulting in at least 14 civilian deaths. Most of the civilians killed were women doing their shopping. One child was also among those killed. Shelling continued on the 20th of May and in Sarabolska in the Wadajir district. 3 people were killed in another shelling incident and 6 were injured. Mortars also hit the Bulahabi neighborhood, injuring 2 people. A major breakthrough happened on the 22nd of May when most of the marked roads, including the Wadnahi road, fell into the hands of TFG and AMISOM. During the fighting, 2 civilians, 4 AMISOM soldiers and 22 Al-Shabaab fighters were killed. Al-Shabaab lost one of the top leaders in Mogadishu. Before being killed, Abu Hubaydah was coordinating the Al-Shabaab attacks from Bakaro Market. As the AMISOM and TFG forces advanced, they captured the famous Red Mosque on the 23rd of May. In an attempt on the 25th of May to open a second front and relieve some of the pressure from Bakaro Market, around 300 Al-Shabaab fighters attacked AMISOM and TFG bases in Bondia, Shingani and Sibis. At least 5 Al-Shabaab fighters were killed. Fighting continued the next night and at least 1 person was killed. Due to the tense situation in Bakaro Market, merchants started to evacuate the market. Some of the shopkeepers reopened in TFG-controlled parts of Mogadishu. During the offensive, several key places were captured by AMISOM and TFG. They include the Red Mosque, Wadnahi Road, Sheikh Ali Sufi Mosque, African Village and Tara Bunker. Around 15 vehicles carrying foreign Al-Shabaab fighters left Abdulaziz district in Mogadishu heading to Afgoy on the 30th of May. At the same time, Al-Shabaab deployed fighters from Lower Shabelan Bay region to the front line in Bakaro Market in an attempt to put a halt to the offensive made by AMISOM and TFG. At 16:45 hours, Al-Shabaab insurgents disguised as SNA soldiers driving a white minivan opened fire at AMISOM and Al-Shabaab fighters at the Dabka base. The insurgents' objective was the Ugandan AMISOM soldiers stationed in Makka al-Mukarramah. Due to a mistake, the insurgents attacked the building next to the one holding AMISOM soldiers, and instead attacked the one holding Al-Shabaab fighters. The area was heavily guarded and 3 of the Al-Shabaab insurgents were killed in the firefight while 2 exploded, killing several civilians on the Makka al-Mukarramah road. Then the rest of the insurgents ran towards the Liberian village, where SNA soldiers were stationed. 2 AMISOM soldiers and 6 insurgents were killed in the attack, while 3 AMISOM soldiers and 6 Al-Shabaab fighters were injured. One of the Al-Shabaab suicide bomber killed during the attack was Abdullahi Ahmed, who is Somali American from Minneapolis, USA. Al-Shabaab launched hit-and-run attacks on AMISOM and SNA bases at Warshadaha Street in the early morning of the 2nd of June. At least 2 people were killed and 3 injured in the fighting that erupted. Around 17 civilians were killed and 46 injured in the fighting that continued at Wadnaha Road, a former Ministry of Defense and Hodden district. Most of the casualties occurred when artillery fire hit a bus station. AMISOM and SNA continued their advance and penetrated deep into Al-Shabaab trench. The result of the fighting was that AMISOM and SNA gained full control over Tranbunk, a road which leads from KM4 to the Industrial Road as well as western access to Bakaro Market. Friday the 3rd of June was a calm day in Mogadishu. AMISOM troops moved out of some of its key bases in the city, and moved forward to the newly established bases closer to Bakaro Market in African Village and on Wadnaha Road. Somali police force will be tasked with the security in the rear areas where AMISOM pulled out. After using the Friday to prepare, AMISOM and SNA attacked Al-Shabaab in the northeastern parts of Mogadishu on Saturday. AMISOM were advancing with tanks towards Al-Shabaab positions. The whole district of Bondia, Sinai village in Wardigli district and Afata Jardino in Yakshid district and Daminyo military camp were captured by AMISOM and SNA. At least 15 people were killed and 30 injured. It is believed that the majority of the injured were civilians. The commander of the Ugandan 23rd Battalion, Lieutenant Colonel Patrick Tibiwa, and 3 other Ugandan soldiers were killed on Saturday the 4th of June. The lieutenant colonel is the highest-ranking Ugandan officer killed in Somalia. He was killed by a stray bullet in Bondia district of Mogadishu. The 3 others were hit by mortars in the same district. Fighting continued on Sunday the 5th of June. Sukaholaha, Jungle, Sizia and Faga neighborhood was hit by several artillery shells. 8 civilians were killed and 15 injured. Somali police force took over the security of KM4, Gariga Shakalaha, Isgoiskadabka and Maka al-Makara Road on the 6th of June. This happened after AMISOM and SNA moved the forces to the front line in Mogadishu. Mortars hit the neighborhoods near the sea resort in Karan district. Around 10 civilian people were killed and residents started to evacuate the district in fear for more shelling. 2 civilians were killed and 1 injured on the 7th of June when Al-Shabaab insurgents opened fire at cat traders in Al-Mada area of Mogadishu. The head of VIP section at Aden at International Airport, Omar Abdul Muhammad A.K.A. Omar Qualdan, was assassinated on the 8th of June. When he left a mosque in Darkinali district of Mogadishu, a man dressed in the uniform of SNA approached him. When he noticed the man, he then tried to escape but was shot in the head and died instantly. Since being appointed head of VIP section at Aden at International Airport earlier this year, he had received several death threats. Al-Shabaab is the prime suspect after the assassination. The top Al-Shabaab commander Fazul Abdullah Muhammad and a Kenyan extremist Musa Hussein were driving in a car carrying $40,000 in United States dollars, as well as medicine, telephones, laptops and a South African passport in the Afguwe corridor, northwest of Mogadishu on the 8th of June 2011. Musa Hussein was known to Muhammad as Abdullahid and is believed to have been involved in funding operations for Al-Shabaab. They had been driving from Jabadahus with destination Mogadishu, that they were to meet another Al-Shabaab commander. As the front line was changing daily in Mogadishu, they took a wrong turn and got lost, resulting in the Entitsakuwasta area in the outskirts of Mogadishu that TFG AMISOM controlled. At 2 a.m. they stopped at a security checkpoint managed by the Somalian military. The SNA opened fire on the car when they were attacked, killing both Fazul Abdullah Muhammad and his accomplice. A suicide attack occurred at the Mogadishu port on the 9th of June. Two Al-Shabaab insurgents passed a checkpoint at the port blended with other traders. Then they climbed over the fence and proceeded to the AMISOM base at the fourth store in the port. They opened fire. One of the insurgents were shot and killed before being able to detonate the charge. The second insurgents detonated and killed one civilian. 3 AMISOM soldiers were injured in the attack. One of the suicide bombers was later identified as 27-year-old Farah Muhammad Beledi from Minnesota, USA. On the 10th of June, the Interior Minister Abdi Shaka Sheikh Hassan was killed by a bomb at his home in Subi near KM4 in Mogadishu. Somali police force claim he was killed when his niece from abroad, Habun Abdul-Qadir Hasik UAAF, acted as a suicide bomber. She was found dead at the scene, while the minister was taken to Banadir Hospital where he later was pronounced dead from the injuries sustained from the bomb. Al-Shabaab, however, claimed responsibility for the attack and claimed the bomb that detonated was planted under the minister's bed in his home. In the beginning of June, there was a political crisis between President Sheikh Sharif Sheikh Ahmed and the Speaker of Parliament Sharif Hassan. Sheikh Aden ended with the Kampala Accord on the 9th of June. During this time, the offensive seemed to have halted as the market has been besieged from three sides. AMISOM announced that taking complete control over Bakara market could take as long as until October 2011. Casualties during the Bakara offensive. On the 1st of July, AMISOM confirmed that another 3,000 soldiers from UPDF had arrived in Mogadishu. 16 people were killed in battle when Al-Shabaab attacked a SNA AMISOM convoy in northern parts of Yakshid district on the 3rd of July. Another 27 people were injured in the fighting that followed. SNA and AMISOM attacked Bangaria village in Hodan district and captured it from Al-Shabaab on the 5th of July. 5 civilians were killed during the fighting. At least 7 SNA soldiers were killed on the 10th of July in heavy fighting that followed after Al-Shabaab insurgents attacked a SNA base in ex-control Afgoy Street. 10 SNA soldiers and 9 Al-Shabaab militants were killed during an armed encounter as the fighters attacked the Gashandhiga military base on 16 July. On the 29th of July, SNA attacked Al-Shabaab in Yakshid and seized an Al-Shabaab position. Then AMISOM shelled the previous Al-Shabaab position, believing it was manned by Al-Shabaab. At least 30 SNA soldiers were killed in the shelling. 37 Al-Shabaab fighters were also killed in clashes. On the 1st of August at 7:30 p.m. MP Khalif Jaiwafa was gunned down and killed as he left Maruwas Mosque in Mogadishu. 2 armed men shot him 6 times in both head and shoulder, killing him instantly. Both killers escaped the scene. Al-Shabaab later claimed responsibility for the assassination. In the beginning of August, at least 4 civilians were killed by snipers at Bakara Market. The area had been almost deserted after heavy battles have raged the area, and snipers could be seen on most of the rooftops in the area. After becoming under increased pressure from SNA and AMISOM, several Al-Shabaab leaders including Fuad Muhammad Khalaf and Omar Shafiq Umami fled from Mogadishu on the 4th of August. Al-Shabaab almost completely left the bases in Sukaholaha, Tawakal village and Dana. When aid was to be delivered to IDPs at Badbado camp in Mogadishu on the 5th of August, at least 7 civilians were killed. The fighting started after SNA soldiers tried to loot the aid and IDPs tried to prevent it. During the night from Friday to Saturday the 6th of August, Al-Shabaab abandoned abandoned all areas in Mogadishu. This move came after heavy fighting on the 5th of August, which included some of the most intensive firepower used by AMISOM. AMISOM had penetrated Bakaro Market and closed in on the Mogadishu Stadium, which had been Al-Shabaab's main base in the capital. Al-Shabaab fighters fled in small cars from all areas, and some left the weapons and Al-Shabaab uniform to slip into civilian dresses. Al-Shabaab leaders Sheikh Mukhtar Robo and Hassan Dahir are believed to have fled to Bakul region of Somalia. On the morning of Saturday 6 SN and AMISOM were in control of most of the areas abandoned by Al-Shabaab, including Bakaro Market, Mogadishu Stadium and the avenues Sodonka and Warshadaha. The same day, President Sharif Sheikh Ahmed said that Al-Shabaab had been completely expelled from Mogadishu.